Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. Back to the channel. I'm Tanisha Davis. This is Fun and Budget, and I know it's been a minute that y'all got a real official video from me on all things budget and fun and money related. I know. Here's what it is. I've been traveling. I'm traveling now. Y'all might see Jay in the background because we got to pack. We got to be out of this room by 1 p.m. It's noon right now, but I was like, I'm making a video. So here we are. In this video, I want to give y'all an update. I want to tell y'all what had happened was. Because y'all, life is very much a yo-yo. Yo-yo. I feel like it has been very much, I tell you something, then this happens, then I tell you something else, then that happens, then I give you a goal, but this doesn't happen, then I give you another goal, and then that don't happen, right? So this is very much that video. This is what had happened was. Y'all, I was planning this trip. Or for some of you who don't know, this is what we know. I was laid off, like, 3 times in about the span of a year, right? So this last time I got laid off again, and I'm just like, guys, we're just gonna live our lives. We're gonna live our lives, and we're gonna travel, and we're gonna do the things, and we're gonna figure it out. In the midst of figuring it out, I started planning this trip, and the first stop on this trip was Belize, and Belize humbled me. The reason why is because a lot of you know I'm pretty much living off of my savings. Jay drives Uber for a living, which is, he does really well doing that, but I can't expect him to take his Uber money and fund my world travels. It's not realistic. It's not realistic. If we would stay home and do what we do from home, we will be fine, but I don't want to stay home. I don't want to stay home. When I first started researching this trip, I was like, well, we can stay in very cost-effective places and it'll be fine. So Belize was first up. Now, the first thing you must know about Belize is not the most inexpensive place to go. It's not. I started researching hotels for us to stay at, and I found 2 things. I found either hotels were super expensive to me, or they were inexpensive but a little looking, right? So the first thing I booked, I said, hey, look, there's this hostel. We can stay at this hostel for like $20 a night. I know what y'all thinking, a hostel, really? But I was like, well, other people done it, we can do it. So I booked this hostel, $20 a night. But then when I started like looking up like YouTube videos, one of my favorite things to do, like look up the place you're going to stay in YouTube and actually see how people are interacting with the place. What are they saying about the place? What do their tours of the place look like? What I found was people didn't have anything super bad to say. I mean, they was pretty good with it. But as I'm looking at it, what I noticed was there were fans everywhere. So that meant no AC. I know, first world problems. But I'm like, I don't want to be in the heat, sweating in the heat. The other thing I noticed was the sheets on the bed were all like super thin. There weren't any like blankets or comforters or anything like that. So it was like super thin sheets and stuff. Then I noticed as I read reviews, because you got to read reviews, people were saying if you wanted like bath towels or anything like that, you had to pay like extra, like $5 extra for a towel. I was like, this is just too much. This is not the life that I want to live. This is not the life I've grown accustomed to. Because I do feel that if you live a certain way at home, right? If you live a certain way at home, your travel life should either mirror that experience or it should be better than that experience. Because a lot of times that's what travel and vacation is to escape us from our norm. Otherwise, what's the what? Yeah, you can just travel just to be like, well, hey, I've now been here or been there, but I like comfort. I like comfort. The problem for me was, without a job, I couldn't necessarily afford that comfort, because the other hotels I was seeing was something like, if I say that was $20 a night, the other hotels I was seeing was like $400 a night and up. And what occurred to me was, if I had a job, I wouldn't think twice about it. Not saying I would go to the top of the line, but the middle of the line would be okay with me. Paying $300 a night if that's what Belize requires. Paying $250 a night if that's what Belize requires. I could very well do that. But not having a job and knowing that I'm traveling from my savings, at this rate, I would be depleting my savings faster than I can replenish it. I had a problem with that. So what popped in my head was, girl, you need a job. You need a job to afford travel. So I said that, and y'all, why the very next day, the company who I worked for reached out to me because a job opportunity popped up and they wanted to see if I would be okay with them submitting me for that opportunity. If it had not been for Belize, I would have told them, no, I'm good. But because of Belize and because of how I was feeling about spending money to have a comfortable experience in Belize, I told them, submit me. Submit me. So they submitted me on day one. I feel like it was the next day. Around 8 p.m. at night the next day, they gave me a text message that was basically like, they want to have an interview with you. Hold on. Yeah, that was February 12th. So February 12th, she was like, wonderful news, you received an interview request. And again, that was like 8:19 p.m. So because it was 8:19 p.m., I was like, I'll just reach back out to her the next day in the morning. So the next day in the morning, it looked like she had called and left me a voice message, but I didn't listen to it because I knew I had to call her back. So when I called her back, I was like, oh, okay, great, because she wanted to know when would I be available to do the interview. So I said, oh, I can do the interview, and I was about to give her a date. She says, well, let me give you this to help you. Maybe this will help you choose when you want to do an interview. So from 8 p.m. that night to when I called her the next day, it was not just one company that was requesting an interview. It was now two. So because she gave me that information about two companies wanted to do an interview with me, I was like, let's do them both on the same day. So I chose a Wednesday. So this was a Monday. So Monday, I said, okay, let's do it Wednesday, because I knew that would give me Monday and Tuesday to get ready for the interview. But before that happened, I was talking to her, and I said something about the last job I had and why it worked out. I said, because when I asked around about that job, turned out somebody knew somebody who ended up being on my interview board. And so I was saying this to her, and she says, oh, we have somebody who works there, meaning they already have somebody in the company who works there. She says, so let me just set up see if you guys can have a conversation. Kind of didn't want to do that, because in my mind I'm thinking, but I couldn't tell her I don't want to do that, because in my mind I'm thinking that feels like a pre-interview before the interview. I don't want to do a pre-interview. But she set it up, and so she set that up for the next day. So that was for Tuesday. To have a conversation with a guy who works there already, and again I'm just like, oh. So the conversation turned out to be very productive, though, because through that conversation, I was able to find out what systems this project worked with, what they already had in place. So that kind of gave me a heads up on what I needed to study for this interview. For instance, I knew that they already were doing automated testing. And I was like, okay, brush up on automated testing. I knew that they were using like Java, a lot of Java type things. So I was like, okay, brush up on your Java skills. So I kind of knew that. But again, my interview is on Wednesday. I got 2 interviews on Wednesday now, right? And so when I went to kind of study, I was like, I'm not good at lying. Or not even lying. I'm not good at faking the funk. What I'm good at is taking what it is that I really do and what it is that I really know and parlaying it into what it is that they may do or know in an honest way. So what I knew was, on this interview, I was able to say, while I don't have experience with this thing that you guys do, here's what I do have experience in, and here's what I'm good at, and here's what I can be helpful at. So I kind of knew that. So one of the interviews was in person. The other interview was going to be a phone interview. The one that was going to be a phone interview, I kind of knew I kind of didn't want, because they had too much restriction in their work environment. I don't like restriction, okay? So, but I was like, I'm gonna put my best foot forward on both of these interviews, because your girl need a job if she wants to travel the way she wants to travel. I work to travel. So on the other interview that was in person, I went to this interview, and when I got there, the guy who met me was like, "Oh, we've heard so much about you." And I'm sitting here like, how? Why? I hope that's a good thing, right? Was it the guy who I already had a conversation with? Did he go back and give them his opinion of me? What? So that was that. So when I get into the interview room, you know me, I'm talking about my car, I'm talking about Lucid, I'm talking about Tesla, I'm talking about all the things that have nothing to do with nothing. So we're waiting on the other person to come into the conference room so the interview can start. So when the other person comes in the conference room, y'all, I knew him. I was like, I yelled out his name. Like, what are you doing here? And I'm telling, now this is just two people, it's him and the other guy. I'm telling them, I'm like, wow, this was like the best developer I ever worked with. I was like, whenever I would find issues, I knew if I brought it to him, they would get resolved. Whereas if I would bring issues to other developers, they would either excuse it away, they would either make up some reason, they would either come up with something so that they wouldn't have to fix it just for 3 months later it to pop up in it to have been a real problem. But not with him. Whenever I communicated with him, we would get to the bottom of things. I loved working with him. So we start this interview, and the first thing the guy says who's doing the interview, he goes, I guess there's a list of questions. He goes, oh, we don't have to ask any of these questions because he's already answered them for us. Y'all, I went on a whole interview where it was like, we don't even need to talk about any of this, because pretty much the guy, the developer who I worked with in the past, who is a Wahite man, I'm just saying, did my interview for me before I even got there. And then the parts that we did talk about on this interview, like they was talking about some of the challenges that they were having, some of the milestones that they wanted to cross, this, that, and the other. It turns out that I had experience with those things, that I've actually led teams on those things. So I could talk about that stuff like with all the confidence, all of the everything that, you know, I've done this before, I can do this again. Plus, I was able to still keep it honest. Like, I've never did testing using this tool, but I'm eager to learn. I want to learn. I can learn. So that was that. So I walked away from that interview feeling super good. I was like, I don't know if I got the job or not, but I felt good about the interview. I felt good that if I didn't get the job, it's only because there was somebody else better suited for the position. As far as the other interview with the phone, child, I was like, who, what, where, why? I wanted to cancel. I wanted to tell them, never mind, I don't even know why I'm here, because they was asking me some questions where I was like, what? It was almost like they was doing an interview with a developer. Like a developer was conducting an interview for a developer, even though I wasn't interviewing for a developer position. It's like nobody in the world has ever asked me these questions before. It was so awkward. It was so uncomfortable. It was so, I don't even want this job. Why are we talking? I'm sorry, I wasted your time. Bye. 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 So no, needless to say, I think within 30 minutes of finishing that interview, they was like, oh, we don't want her. So that was that, right? So then Jay and I, you know, we're doing our thing. We're going to like Chautauqua, New York. So let me see. That interview was on the 14th. I mean, that interview wasn't on the 14th. That interview was on a Wednesday. It was like the next week. The next week when we was driving to Chautauqua. Oh, this is what happened. So the company they would ask me about how much do I need for a salary. I told them, in order to hire my cleaning team back, I need, let's just say this, I said, oh, it was over $200,000 in order for me to hire my cleaning team back. So I put that out there, right? So I gave them this crazy number. And then that was that. So now we're driving to Chautauqua, New York, and the reception was spotty. And this was on February 19th. And so I text her because she was trying to call and it wasn't going through. So I text her. I said, it seems reception is spotty. And then she texts me back. She says, I wondered, but then thought it was me. She says, I was calling to let you know that you can call your cleaning lady back. So that meant not only did I get the job, I got the job at the salary that I wanted, which was a $30,000 increase from what I was last making. That is what happened. Now, I knew I was coming on this trip, right? I knew I was coming on this trip. And so they was like, about 9 p.m. that night, they sent me, they said, offer letter sent. And so I was like, awesome. So I was able to go through the offer letter, see what was what, and all of the great things. And that was amazing. Now, this is what I know. I know that between the time it took for me to be hired, that it was still going to take some time for everything to get revved up and for me to get back in the system and all of those things. I was thinking about 2 weeks, right? So I was like, well, so when that happens in 2 weeks, I can let them know that I can't start until this day. Because I'm going on this trip for a whole month. I'm leaving on March 2nd and I'm not coming back till like April 5th. I knew this. I didn't tell them that though. Well, actually, my company knew this. My company knew this. But we thought, between my company and I, that we was going to have like a 2-week period before things got settled at least. It could be longer than 2 weeks. Hoping for longer. Y'all, why did it take 2 days? 2 days. 2 days. So now I'm like, what in the world? And I'm telling them I can't start till 5 weeks. So they weren't necessarily happy with that, according to my company. They was like, oh, they're not happy because it's like 5 weeks. They didn't think they would have to wait 5 weeks, blah, 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 blah. So I had to think about it. I was like, okay, either I can just say, well, forget it and not have a job. And me and Jay can stay at hostels. Trust me, we stayed at some places in Belize where I was like, no, I must do better. I must do better. So I was like, either we can do that or I can cut this trip short and come back sooner. Because vacations are forever, right? So I was like, I can do that. I can do that. So I was like, so I gave them some options. I was like, okay, I can cut the trip short and I can either come back. I think it was something like March 24th. Wait, what's today? March 20th. I was telling them March 20th because I was like, I can cut Panama in half and just not even go to Guatemala altogether. So I can come back. As soon as I can come back will be March 20th. So I presented that to them. My company was very happy that I was so flexible and that I was willing to do this. And so she presented that to them. But then they ultimately came back and said, no, she already had these plans and we understand and we can wait till April 6th for her to start. So guys, that is the story. That is the yo-yo of my life. I have a job again. And I'm happy about it. I'm happy about it because I'm expensive. I'm expensive. So guys, with this job, we're going back to our original goals. We're going back to the goal of paying off my home. And I believe I made a whole nother list of other goals that we're going to do because I have a job again. So I'm so happy and I'm so blessed because let me say this. My last paycheck, my last day working was the day after Thanksgiving. Whatever day that was, November 27th, 28th, 29th. That was my last day working. My last paycheck, though, was February 13th. That was my last paycheck. So I say that to say it hasn't been long that I've gone without a paycheck. And I'm super appreciative of that. I know that this is a time where people are struggling to find employment, right? So I am super aware of that blessing. I really, really, really am. And I'm just so grateful that I was able to get something again fairly quickly. It's almost like as soon as I made up my mind to do it, everything lined up and it came through. And I will be back at work. I plan on, and maybe we can do another video at another time where I tell you what the plans for this new job is. Because one of the things I do know for sure is a job is not guaranteed. Boy, oh boy, do I know that. So while I have this income, I'm gonna make it count while it comes in, because I'm not even taking this for granted that this is going to be forever. This is going to be for when it's going to be for, and that is okay. I'm okay with that. But while I'm there, I'm going to do my very, very best, and we're going to have some fun. We are going to have some fun. All right. So thank y'all so much for being here for this update. Let me help Jay finish up our packing. All right, we got 30 more minutes. We got 30 more minutes. I'm halfway packed. I'm mostly packed. 30 more minutes, and then we're moving to another place here in Panama City. We're not leaving yet. We're not leaving Panama yet. We're just moving locations. We're going to move to Old Town now. Right now, we are right in front of the Panama Bay. We're at the Hilton Panama, and now we're going to, what is it called? Casco Viejo. We're going to the Old Town, Panama.